Hello friends, Happy New Year. This is my first video in 2026 and man, it has been hell of a year. Wow, hell of a fucking year, let me tell you. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Allie, welcome. Usually we have some casual conversations about sex, relationships, and other fun stuff. And even though I'm gonna be touching a little bit upon those things today, this video is going to be mostly about the lessons that I learned in 2025, some of them relating, a lot of them towards sex and relationships. So it's going to be a little bit raw, a little bit unfiltered, this video. I'm going to give you a little bit of a BTS, behind the scenes, as they say, what's been going on in my life for the past year. Because if you're not a member of my Patreon, I usually share a lot more intimate updates on there. You probably don't know, because I don't really talk about this stuff on my channel. All right, 2025, recap. My mom got cancer, yay, super healthy woman, 80 years old, healthiest 80-year-old you'd ever met, but yes, she got cancer. And so it was a year of hospital visits, emotional support, family support, mental health, all that stuff. First time that I'm navigating something like this. It's better now, but hopefully for the long run, it stays that way. And, you know, despite all that, I was still like showing up and committed to creating informative, educational, spicy content for you all. It was kind of my creative outlet. I was trying to focus hard on learning my schoolwork, sex education, and connecting with you all, which helped. Definitely helped. You gotta keep those wheels turning in situations like that. And the other big thing was my dad passed away about 2 weeks ago. So I'm okay. I mean, look, it's the first time I've lost someone close to me. We weren't that close, but still kind of hits you in weird ways, you know? They always say grief comes in waves. So I guess that's what I'm going through. He had a heart condition and didn't really believe in modern medicine. So I think he went peacefully, which I'm very happy about. But yeah, it's the first time I'm navigating something like this. So it's interesting. It's a bit weird. You know, I always say on my channel, like, sex isn't everything. You know, I don't want people to come on my channel and think like, oh, like, my sex life isn't great right now, like it's the end of the world, Like, sex is not everything. It's a part of everything, all right? And definitely life events like this, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, have an impact on your relationships and your sex life. And I've learned a lot of lessons throughout the year when it comes to those things. Another major event in 2025 was Gab and I decided to open up our relationship. Now, for those of you who may not know, my partner and I have always kind of had an open relationship, but the dynamic was we would always play together with women. And as I always say on my channel, fantasies, desires, and so on, they evolve with time and they grow with you. And I was feeling a little bit of a yearning to play by myself a little bit with other men. And the reason for that was I was missing this like sexual energy that I had before I met my partner. It's like flirtatious, erotic energy that I missed. And I really wanted to tap back into that. And so I did. And then I ended up developing quite strong feelings for someone. Not the kind of feelings where I felt like I wanted to leave my partner. That never came up. But like a simultaneous kind of love, just like, yeah, it's hard to explain. But obviously that caused a little bit of a rift in our relationship because this was the first time we were navigating this and, you know, things got kind of uncomfortable. And so I learned a lot of lessons there too, a lot. And, you know, I always say that when it comes to trying something in sex or relationships, and maybe you can relate to this, and if you don't, then you could think about it this way. There are some things that I'm always excited to try, you know, but I always say I never know how I'm actually going to feel once it happens, okay? Because like fantasizing about something is one thing, but actually living it, you might find yourself in a situation where you're like, whoa, this is not what I imagined. This is not what I thought I would feel like. And this is actually scientifically proven. There's a term, hold on, what's it called, that I just learned about recently in a book that I've been reading called Tell Me What You Want by Justin LaMiller about sexual fantasies. And there's a psychology term called affective forecasting, which basically means that humans are notoriously awful at predicting their emotional outcomes. All right. So I try to give myself a little bit of grace when I'm trying new stuff because you never know. You never know how it's going to happen. Which leads me into my first lesson that I learned. All right. I'm just going to get right into it, which is we fuck up, we're human. Or we should inverse that. We're human, we fuck up. Okay. We are learning how to navigate life every single day and relationships every single day. And if you've never done something before, you can't expect to be good at it. All right. You kind of expect to fail at it the first time because you're just going in blind, especially when it comes to opening up your relationship. All right. You know, I thought I had things cool, calm, and collected, like everything was under control, but actually it kind of wasn't. And I let it sort of spiral out of control. And multiple people were involved, and I felt like a little bit of a failure. You know, I thought I was coming in like, ooh, I study sex ed and I'm so above everyone. I mean, I didn't really think that, but I knew that I had a certain level of emotional maturity and a certain level of communication to handle something like this. But then it kind of blew up in my face and I was disappointed. I was like, oh, I failed at this. Like I didn't do it right, but then after a lot of time, I had to give myself some grace and be like, you're like trying this for the first time. You have no idea what's going to happen, And I think we all need to give ourselves a little bit of grace, especially when it comes to fucking up in a relationship. Like people can be, really unforgiving when it's like breaking a boundary or a bond or loyalty or whatever. I think we need to learn how to communicate a little bit better and be a little bit more empathetic and understanding because we are human and we do fuck up and good people make bad choices all the time. So that's lesson number 1. What's lesson number 2? Ooh, this is a good one. Connection matters more than performance. So sexual connection matters more to me than technical skill. So, in the few new experiences that I had this year outside of my partners, I learned that I think I do need a little bit of an emotional connection when it comes to sex. I knew that I needed a certain level of connection and chemistry with someone. Like I couldn't just meet someone in a bar and be like, "You're hot, let's fuck." I needed some of that banter, some of that chemistry. But then there's like a deeper layer of emotional connection and intimacy that you don't always get with casual encounters. And I've learned that, at least for now, because it might change, but if I don't have like a deeply emotional connection with someone, I'm not fully myself. I'm like 60% myself, not the full throttle where I can really go deep, and enjoy it. And that I thought was really interesting. And part of me thinks, am I broken? Can I never have casual sex again without having like some deep emotional connection with someone? Because performance can be learned. Connection cannot. Maybe it can be grown over time, but like you can work on performance, And some men are like really skilled in bed, really, really skilled in bed. All right. But again, if that connection is not there for me, at least now, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it that much. And again, science says something about this in that book that I'm reading. I don't have it with me right now, but Tell Me What You Want by Justin LaMiller. He surveyed over 4,000 Americans, asking them about their sexual fantasies and so on. And the majority of them said that they would enjoy their fantasy more with a romantic partner and or have some kind of emotional connection to the partner as opposed to it being some kind of stranger. So this just goes to show that people are craving more connection and emotional intimacy. So I guess I fall within those statistics. All right, moving on. Number 3, what I learned is knowledge is power. So I am super grateful for my YouTube channel because that led me to start studying sex education more professionally. I started this channel 4 years ago now. And 2 years ago, I decided to pursue studies in sex education with the Sexual Health Alliance, just to become a little bit more credible. Like, hopefully these people will, think I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, knowledge is power. I started studying sex education and wow. I mean, I knew I was, sexually open before, and I knew was open to a little bit more progressive sex and relationships than a lot of people, but this really took me to another level, especially in terms of the research and the literature, and just learning about all this stuff makes me feel more confident, more empowered. I learned so much about my body and my pleasure, and just like how to communicate in my relationship, how to communicate with other people. Oh my God. Honestly, I am super proud of myself for that, and I can't wait to continue learning about this. And honestly, guys, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you invest in your sex and relationship education. It doesn't have to be anything formal like what I'm doing, where you're paying like a couple grand to take a certification or something. But there are so many books out there that you can read. I got on the reading wagon this year. I read like 15 books about sex and relationships, and just like every single one blew my mind, from like kink to open relationships to sex workers, to learning about the vagina, like so many different things, sex and disabilities. Like there's so much out there. And this leads me into my next lesson, which is you are in charge of your own pleasure. Okay, number 4. You are in charge of your own pleasure. That's what I learned. I need to take responsibility for my own pleasure. I can't leave it up to my partner. You want to like leave it up to somebody else to get you off, to make the move, to like, no, that's on you. Okay. You do the learning, you do the teaching. Hopefully they're also doing their own work so they can also teach you some stuff. But I learned so much about myself this year. And because of that, I had the tools to communicate better to my partner in terms of what I'm looking for, what I want, what turns me on. And that helps him. Like I'm doing him a huge service by telling him like what I like. And, he can guess and try as much as he wants, but, I appreciate the effort. But at the end of the day, like, throw your partner a bone, give him some little bit of hints, give him a little bit of help to help you get off. There is no wrong that can come from this. So I highly recommend you start reading some books about taking pleasure into your own hands and understanding your body, understanding your desires, your kinks, your fantasies. Oh, it is so liberating. All right, what's next? Number 5, community matters. So this year I intentionally tried to hold space more for sex positive communities and people. Because I create content online about sex education as a woman, so honestly, it feels a little lonely sometimes. All right. And yes, I'm in school, but I don't really have a community because it's online. So I've actively seeked out online sex positive communities. I've paid to join them. And I feel really good there because I can ask questions. I can be myself. I can ask some weird effing questions and, know that I'm going to get no judgment and just, real, honest, judgment-free answers. And it feels really good. And I've made a few good friends through these communities that have now become my WhatsApp voice note besties, because it really helps to talk to some people about this kind of stuff. I have my close friends, but when it comes to like dealing with non-monogamous stuff and everything, sometimes I find it a little bit challenging to talk to them about it. So I have these unbiased spaces that I can lean into. Speaking of communities, I have also built a really solid community on my Patreon. I will link it below, and I'm going to do a shameless plug-in right here, right now. I have built this little community on Patreon, and I'm really proud of it, honestly. I'd say the majority of people on there are men. Women are welcome too. Please join. But it has become a creative outlet for me, that space. I share a lot of intimate information, details about my life, my love life, my sex life. And I've also started posting a lot of like boudoir style photo shoots on there because I'm feeling a lot more empowered and confident in my body. And it just feels good to sexually express myself on there. And honestly, the audience is great. They are so respectful. You would think that I would get a lot more like creepy requests and stuff like that, but I don't. I really don't. Everyone is so respectful on there for accepting what I choose to share and what I choose not to share, because I don't really post any like nudity. And they're all just really nice, and they're all appreciative of me and my body, my real body, the stretch marks, the little bit of like extra weight. And it's just like really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's really makes me hopeful for humanity, that there are a lot of really nice men out there who, aren't just looking for like the quick, naked photo of someone, which I get once in a blue moon, I get a request for things like that, but it's super, super rare, and they're all respectful, very. And I share a lot of travel information on there. My partner and I travel a lot, and just like a lot about our lifestyle. And yeah, anyways, if you want to check it out, go ahead, click on the link below. What's next? Number 6. I think we're at 6 or 7. Okay. Male versus female pleasure. So this year reminded me how different it can be. And I'm going into 2026, like trying to, again, take control of my own pleasure so I can like close the gap on that a little bit. And what made me realize this even more was this experience that I had towards the end of the year where Gab's my partner. I haven't made a video on this yet. I will. I made one on Patreon where I talk about this real life experience like in real time, but I'm going to do a whole video on YouTube about it. We went to an erotic massage place that we've been to before, and I really wanted to get a sense of what it's like for a woman to receive an erotic massage from a man. Because I do see the value in paid work for women, women seeking out this work by like a true professional who knows exactly what to do, and creating this like fantasy safe space for women to just like relax and receive pleasure. And anyways, so he went into a room with a woman and I went into a room with a man, and it was the most awkward, uncomfortable experience I have ever had sexually. It was so weird. So weird. Okay. It was not happy at all. I did not have a happy ending. Okay. It was awful. And let me just plug in my computer. At the end of it, I walked out and Gab was waiting for me in the lounge, and he was like smiling and he was so happy with his experience. He had the same type of service as me, just with a woman. And I was pissed. I was like, that was so bad for me. Like, and he's smiling. I was like, man, I wish it was so much easier for me to have enjoyed that experience, because I feel like he could have just been in the room with anybody, talking, not talking, whatever, like just, that's it. He had a great time. And it made me realize just like how difficult it is for women to receive pleasure, or the pleasure that they're looking for, which is also hard because sometimes we don't know what we're looking for, again, because we're not like taught to talk about these things, How do we know if we don't talk about it, if we don't experience things? So yeah, it was a little disappointing. And when it comes again to open relationship stuff, my partner is a bigger fan of more like transactional type of sex, whereas I like to go out on dates and have like a little bit of emotional connection. But man, that's hard to find, And sometimes I get jealous of his experiences because I'm like, I wish it was just easy. I wish it was just more easy for me to like go out and be like, boom, I want to manifest sex right now. And I know people will probably say, oh, you're a woman, like you can get sex whenever you want. But the difference is it the sex that I want? You know what I mean? So yeah. All right. Next is my sexual energy is powerful and I don't want to waste it. So opening up my relationship reignited a sexual energy that I haven't felt in years. Okay, and it felt so good. It also helped my relationship, but it felt so good. There's just something about like meeting, the novelty, the mystery, like meeting someone new. Again, eroticism loves novelty, or novelty loves eroticism. So like when you meet someone new and the endorphins are there, pheromones, and you're learning about someone and you're discovering them, like that is so exciting. And the flirting and the banter, I love, love, love that stuff. And while it's exciting and like, I've had some experiences, I've realized I don't really want to waste that energy on just meaningless sex. So yes, my partner and I have opened up. I have the opportunity to like meet people, but I also like, I'm just not going to meet anyone. Like, I'm not going to like swipe through an app and meet someone and be like, hey, let's go for a drink and then let's fuck after. Like, no. I want it to be sex worth having, and I'm willing to wait for those opportunities to come. And so that being said, I know I have a lot of erotic energy. It might not seem that way. I'm dressed in this like cozy sweater right now, but I was talking to my therapist about it, and she said that, some of the most erotic people are those who don't really like display it that much, who are a little bit more modest or humble about it. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of like me, because I come off as very like sweet and so on. But if I like really like you and really attracted to you and we're like behind closed doors, like forget it. All right, you see like a new alley coming out. And I'm really proud of that energy. I love it. It's something I love about myself. And so because I have a lot of that energy and I don't just want to waste it on meaningless sex, I want to channel that obviously through my own relationship and like foster that sexual connection. But I also want to try and use that for creative energy. So there's this thing that I read about a couple of years ago, this term that they made up called sexual transmutation. I think it was Napoleon Hill that made that up. Napoleon Hill, is that his name? The guy who wrote Think Rich, Grow Hard? Think Rich, Grow Hard? I don't know. What's the name of that book? You know what I'm talking about? I'll Google it after. Anyways, he had a chapter about sexual transmutation, which is basically harnessing the sexual energy that you have and putting it into creative outlets. So instead of like having sex and doing all that, you use it for creative purposes, like building a business, doing art, whatever. And because I, have this creative platform, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to harness that energy into. And there's one thing that I want to try this year, harnessing the sexual energy, is two things. So one, I want to try and explore more of my dom side. So I had an experience last year. I've had like a few, like 2 or 3 dom experiences where, someone approached me and asked me if I wanted to try it. And I was like, you know what? Sure, I'm open-minded. Plus they were offering something quite substantial. So I was like, yeah, I can make time for this. And it was just through texting, I set my limits. Like I don't want to do pictures or videos or stuff like that. It was basically storytelling. And I was pretty good at it. And I got really into it. And I felt like I was in that dom space. And I was like, oh, this is something that would be worth re-exploring for me. So I want to look and learn a little bit more about that. And the other thing I want to do is lean into helping people live out their fantasies in some safe, consensual way. So I have a really admiration for, let's say, sex workers who are in the line of work of, helping people bring fantasies to life in a safe way. I think it's super valuable. I think it's really great for people to explore their fantasies. I think it's healthy. It takes away the shame, the stigma, and it also helps people, explore and learn how to communicate what their desires are and learn more about themselves. And just have fun, pretty much. And so even though I feel like I would be really good at this in real life, I'm definitely not ready, or I don't think I'll ever be ready to kind of offer this service in real life to people I'm not dating or sleeping with. But I think I can do this in a written way, like through erotic storytelling, narration, things like that. So that's something I want to explore more as well in 2026, is have some kind of intake form where people write to me what their fantasies are. Either I'm a part of it or not, and I create some kind of erotic novel for them, story, whatever. So yeah, that's me channeling my sexual energy for 2026. All right, what is next? Okay, I think this is the last one I have. There are probably more lessons for sure. But these are the ones I'm just going to finish within this video because it's probably going to be a long video. All right, last one is take care of yourself for you, first and foremost, but also your partner, okay? So life is short, all right? I clearly learned that this year. You can get sick if you're healthy. You can die at any point. So life is short. We have a limited time on this earth and we want to enjoy ourselves. We want to have pleasure inside and outside the bedroom. We want to feel comfortable and happy and relaxed by ourselves or with a partner or partners or whatever situation that you're in. So the first thing is take care of yourself, okay? I wouldn't say like be obsessive about like your weight, your health and all that stuff, but just like generally balanced 80-20 kind of situation. 80-20, I mean like, 80% of the time you're like healthy, you're eating healthy, you're exercising, the 20% you're, indulging and enjoying the more like decadent things in life, okay? Especially when it comes to food, because like I really like to eat. I love to work out and I'm athletic and I have a pretty nice body, but I got a little pudge here and there, but I like to eat too much. So anyways, yes, taking care of yourself. I have a lot of pride in taking care of your hair, your skincare regimen, you're just like general like eating, sleeping, all that kind of stuff, whatever works for you that makes you feel good inside of your body. And this is so important, if you're with a partner or in the future, if you end up with someone, to also be healthy and strong and taking care of yourself for them, okay? Because you want to show up as your best self for them every day. You want them to wake up and be like, you know what, I'm fucking glad that I picked that person to be with. Look at them. They're glowing, they're sexy, they're beautiful, they're smart, they take care of themselves. You want them to think that of you. And you want them to think that of you. And if you just let yourself go, you don't really care about yourself that much, not only are you doing a disservice to yourself, but it's kind of selfish. It's selfish, especially if you have children. Because by you not taking care of yourself, you're essentially becoming a big ass burden on the other person. Let's say you grow old together and one person is taking care of themselves and the other one just like totally let themselves go and then becomes debilitated, disabled, whatever, and is unable to care for themselves. And now this other person that you've been with is now stuck with you, having to take care of you because you decided to not take care of yourself at all. That is selfish. I think that's very selfish, especially if you have children. Well, not especially, just like whatever situation you're in. So yeah, take care of yourself, okay? Like make 2026 be a year where you decide to show up for yourself. Just do the basic minimum, you know what I mean? Like get a little moisturizer, wash your hair, I wouldn't say cut the carbs, but like whatever, diet regimen, lifestyle regimen, eat a balanced diet, whatever that looks like for you. And move your body, go for a walk. You don't have to do intensive sports or exercise, but I'm telling you, in every single sex book I read, when it comes to low libido problems for women and for men, especially men when it comes to getting hard, the first thing that a therapist or a psychologist or a coach or whoever is going to ask you is like, what is your lifestyle generally? Like, do you move? Are you active? Because having a strong erection is related to blood flow. And if the blood flow is not moving in your body, you ain't getting hard, all right? So you need to move to get the blood flow going. And that's why go for a fucking walk. That's all it has to be. Walk 20 minutes a day, listen to a podcast, listen to music. There is so much content on the internet about just moving, going for that walk, and everyone probably rolls their eyes and is like, oh yeah, like look at this, like inspirational, motivational, like coaching shit and like going for walks every day and manifesting. I'm telling you, that shit works, okay? You don't have to manifest, but just move your body. All right, that's it. Walk up and down your stairs, whatever. I'm just telling you not to let yourself go, all right? You deserve to have a pleasurable, fun, fulfilled life, whether if you're alone. When I say alone, I mean like not in a romantic, committed, long-term partnership, because I don't believe that, the end all be all is like someone meeting someone and getting married and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a believer in that. I believe that people can be very happy by themselves and probably happier on their own and not in a committed relationship. But then still foster, social relationships and friendships and so on outside of that. But yeah, all right. This is probably a long video, but you know what? It felt good to share with you all about 2025 and the life lessons that I learned, especially when it comes to sex, relationships, and other fun stuff. There wasn't that much fun stuff, but yeah, other fun things, in case you're curious, in case you're still watching this video, that I have coming up in terms of travel, because you all know I love to travel. And last year I did have to sacrifice a lot of travel to be at home, to take care of my family and so on. But this year I will be going to Mexico. We will be going to a surprise locations that actually I don't know, but Gab knows. So I'm excited for that. Thailand is there in the spring. We also got Europe in the spring because I have some sex trips coming up in Paris, in where are we going? In Denmark, in Germany. So yeah, we got a lot of fun things coming up and I can't wait to share that with you all. And I guess my final word is, if you made it to the end, thank you so much for sticking by me on YouTube and on Patreon, wherever it is that you watch me. I'm so appreciative. I hope to come in this year with a lot more confidence in terms of my sex education that I've acquired, and I guess advice that I've accumulated, that I've lived, that I've read to share with you. So yeah, it's been really fun. It's been fun. So that being said, Happy New Year's, everybody. Je vous aime.